Hi guys, my name is Niyis Up Let. Thank you so much for joining us today. These films are being made as an opportunity for real life people to share their real stories. We're not claiming to be the gatekeepers of blackness, but we're just sharing our real life stories. Today I've got an amazing guest joining me. I've got Chike. How you doing, mate?
How you doing, Nee?
Yeah, I'm
to be
good
here.
actually. Yeah, how are
Yeah,
you?
I'm chilling, man.
Just chilling.
Lockdown mode still, but almost over.
Yeah. How you finding the lockdown situation though?
At first, it was a bit difficult. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten kind of into a routine of things,
Mhm.
and when you get into a routine of things, it kind of gets a bit easier. So
Yeah.
I don't like it though. I can't wait to go out. I'm not gonna lie. Don't like it for one bit.
No, I
Yeah, I'm
totally
itching to get
understand.
out.
No,
I'm itching to get out,
I
definitely.
totally get you. I want to say actually again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime.
We've known each other for a very long time.
Too long.
In fact, too long. But what I wanted to kind of talk to you about is kind of just racism. We've come from a very similar background,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that kind of people think that if you come from a privileged background, which we've been extremely lucky to come from, is that you don't face racism.
Yeah.
But do you consider like you faced any kind of racism as a whole, like in general, or?
Definitely. I mean, just growing up as a black person in this country, it's almost impossible not to encounter racism at some point. Then coming from where we come from,
Yeah.
the type of background that we have, I mean, some would say, well, to be fair, it is. We are lucky to be
Yeah.
in the situations that we were in, being put in private schools and whatnot, and going to university. So definitely, I've definitely experienced like all types of racism going to school, the usual banter type of racism.
Yeah.
Then university with the I didn't know that was racist. I'm just finding out now, kind of that's racist kind of thing, the defiance in people.
Yeah.
And then you get to the corporate world where the racism is it's not overt at all. You're left guessing, you're left wondering whether is this racism or not, kind
Yeah.
of thing, because you know it happens in the industry, but you don't know if you're part of the statistics or not. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll say I've been through like every type of racism.
Okay, so no, that you've actually honestly made such a good point, the way you've broken it down. And this is why I love having these conversations, because every time I speak to somebody new, or even if I speak to somebody I've spoken to about this conversation before, I learn something new and I have a different conversation. And what I want to really break down, because you've done that for me actually, is, so you said you've broken it down to like the 3 different stages of your life that you've had so far. So school, the kind of racism, what would you say the kind of racism you faced at school was?
Very ignorant.
Okay.
Very
The banter
it's,
culture,
it's
right?
very the banter culture where they'll say whatever I guess makes the other people laugh, regardless of who's feeling it hurts, regardless of how insensitive it might be. As long as you get a laugh, you're all good. Like I said, it's kind of like that wolf pack mentality in school.
Okay.
That it comes back to, what are the cool kids doing?
Okay.
Can I make the cool kids laugh? Can I fit in? Because everyone's trying to fit. Everyone's in school. Everyone's trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And in school, the thing is that we're all teenagers that don't essentially know in life what is right from wrong. We're still learning.
Yeah.
We know the things we shouldn't say. We know the things that are like on the borderline that should it be said? Should it not be said? Most of the time, it shouldn't be said. But I'll say in school, that line is crossed. And that line, I'll say a big reason for why that line is crossed is because of this banter culture. Whereas if you get a laugh, it's all
It's
good.
okay.
It's okay.
It's just banter,
It's just
mate.
banter.
It's just banter, mate.
Everyone's
Pass it
laughing.
off.
Can't you see?
Yeah.
Don't be a sport. Don't be
Don't pull the race
don't pull the
card.
race card. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Don't be the downer.
Yeah. Debbie Downer is another one.
You just don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And in some schools, especially when you're like a new student,
Yeah.
you want to leave an impression on people. You don't want people to think like you're a snitch if you go tell someone what you said, or you don't want people to like alienate you because they can't crack jokes around you kind of thing. So you kind of got to fit in and take it on the chin.
Do you have any examples of this wolfpack mentality that you're talking about? Like any examples that you've actually experienced yourself?
The one thing, there are 2 real main examples. One was really not through me. One was through another person, me seeing this, how they reacted to another person. So you know how guys are, that we get around, we talk about girls, whatnot. That's just how guys do it in school, yeah?
Yeah.
And we talk about which guy likes whatnot, and girls that we think are attractive or not.
Okay.
And gets to a point where you get to this girl that is objectively attractive.
Okay.
She's black, by the way. And I bring her up because everyone is naming everyone else. I'm just like, I think this girl is very attractive. I'm going to name her. Then everyone looks at you like they're so confused, almost like, how dare you name her in this conversation? And I'm just like, I thought this was like objectively
But everybody,
seen. I thought
everybody
could
knows
see
this.
this. Like, am I the one bugging here? Like, kind of thing. And I naturally I just keep quiet, let them go on with their conversation. And I kid you not, like a week later, one of the cool guys in the year above is dating her, and then you come back to talk to these guys in this discussion, and these guys, their whole tone, their whole tune has changed. They're all, oh yeah, I see what he sees in her, I see this, I see that, just trying to kind of like do the whole mental gymnastics to get their head around why I guess someone who's like them could be with someone who is of a different like color to them. Do you get what I mean? Like, different shades to them. And it's just it's sad to see that it took one of them that changed the whole mindset of all of them.
Yeah.
It's sad to see that couldn't happen without one of them basically saying, oh, she's good.
Okay.
Do you get, it feels like he's saying she's one of the good ones. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, they've got his acceptance.
Exactly.
And she's got his acceptance.
Exactly.
So now they're all like, okay, yeah, she's now one of us.
She's now one of us, or she's now all of a sudden pretty. It's like, no, she's
always
been pretty.
she's been pretty.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
And that was for me something that really opened my. I don't really talk about it with anyone, not even my black friends. It's just something I really noticed. And I just noticed like there's this wolf pack mentality because I saw it in everything. I played rugby, so you see everything. You see the banter. You see the wolf pack mentality. Yeah. You even see people that are not meant to be in the rugby squad get into the rugby squad because they're just cool with the cool guys. So you just see that whole wolf pack mentality.
No, I totally agree with you, and I've actually got quite an apt example of like the wolf pack mentality, especially in rugby. I remember, I think I've told you this before, but this has stuck with me. In fact, like when I spoke to some of my friends the other day, and they were like, "Oh my god, I remember that!" Like, whoa, like now to think about it, that's crazy. But I remember I was going to like rugby training. I was just a little bit late because I was coming down from like a lesson, and I was like running down. Everybody was like, bear in mind, like pretty much like 90% of the team were white apart from one other guy who was black in the front row, which that's a completely different topic because some of the stuff that some of the coaches used to say to him is like outrageous. But I was like coming down and I was like, I've just had a piano lesson and my coach was like, oh, have you just come from the well? And everybody just started laughing, like everyone in the team, and I was just there like,
what are you supposed to say?
like you just do the awkward laugh because one, he's in power, everybody's laughing, so you're like, is this actually funny? Like, am I supposed to laugh? Like deep down, you know, like this is wrong.
Exactly.
But you just don't really have any kind of like you don't have any foot to stand on.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
especially in that kind of situation where there's someone who is actually older than you and supposed to know better than you that is doing something like that and perpetuating that kind of behavior. It's just, you kind of feel helpless, right?
Yeah.
You just feel like you just have to conform because if you stick out, you will stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
you already
you
stick
already
out.
do.
You already stick out, and now if you don't accept the banter that has been placed upon you, you're even worse than before.
Yeah,
do you get what I mean? So
I get you.
It's a terrible situation to be put in. Really.
And then I guess this leads us on to the next phase of your life, which is now your university career, right? Oh, is it career? What do you even call university? University time. Yeah. So what is the difference with the racism that you face at university to the racism that you face at school?
A big difference in university is I guess in school is the lack of wolfpack mentality, because now in university it's a lot more diverse most of the time, especially like the university I went to where there were a lot of international students and whatnot. So it's a lot more diverse. So you don't necessarily get the wolfpack mentality, but you do get the ignorant statements here and there. And then because kids have started drinking, you know, they're saying things under the influence here and there. And sometimes, like, I'll give you an example of a friend. This is actually a friend of mine who we are still friends to today. We haven't spoken about this. But it's just a situation where he didn't
Does
understand.
he know about what you're about to say, or?
I don't think he does.
Okay.
Because I haven't spoken to him about it, but it's just something that stuck with me. Because I guess you could say I should have spoken to him since I feel this strongly about it. But then again, I didn't think it was coming from a malicious place because he is my friend.
So is he still friends with you?
He's still friends with me today.
Okay.
But he said, Chike, you're an Oreo. And
I've heard that too much.
he kind of said it in a way like, oh no, you're just different from, I guess, his view of what black people are.
Yeah,
and it's like, nah, that's not what I am. And I understand that you're trying to say that I'm different from, I guess, your stereotypical version of what a black person should be in your head. But calling me an Oreo is not necessarily the way you should convey that message. Because it kind of makes the person feel like you're basically telling me I'm white on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm not white on the inside, I'm black all over. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And for you to say that makes you almost feel like the white inside you is the good part in you, not the black around you. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I've taken it. Obviously, at the time, I didn't take it like that because I think we were all drunk and we were all going out the night. But it stuck with me because I was drunk and it's still something I remember to this
I can
day.
resonate with that because I've been called Oreo multiple times. Like I can't even count it. So I'm like, oh, you're so... And I'm sure people probably watching this probably would say the same thing. And I'm like, doesn't make any sense. Like, just because it's not that narrative that you've created. Like, hello, wake up and smell the coffee. Black people do speak like this.
People speak all types of ways. Yeah. It's not specific to a race.
No,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It just when you start stereotyping people, that's when the issues normally occur, right? When you start expecting things of people, I would say that's when the issues start. You never really expect things of people that you really want to expect from someone else or yourself even. Do you get what I mean? When you start grouping a bunch of people, and that's when the problems start. Because now your outlook on life is kind of caged in, and you're not kind of open to the other colors of people's behaviors. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I do get you.
You're kind of expecting something, and expectation most of the time, especially we've seen with history, doesn't lead to a good place. Do you get what I mean? Because that's when you start having I'm in the elevator with a white woman and she starts clutching her purse.
Yeah,
it's like,
every black person can
exactly
resonate with that.
You doing that makes me angry. But then again, if I react to that, then I'm fulfilling your stereotype. So I just have to be there. I'm staying away.
That is such a good point.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those like situations you're in that you don't even realize how you're affecting the other person with your reaction. And sometimes the reaction is so genuine to the point that is how the person will react to any black person.
Yeah.
And that is a problem because that's ingrained in you now.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I think what I always think this actually falls back down to is, again, in history, one, history is whitewashed. Two, usually the descriptions of black people in history, it's beastly, feral, like aggressive, manly, like everything, like it's never really a positive like connotation linked with it. So this has been trickled down for generations and generations and generations, and then on the news you see it all the time. Like you could have a guy who's been doing like great, like for example Ahmaud Arbery, and when they first the first picture they used of him, they tried to claim that he was like like a killer or something. It was just some bogus nonsense. A thug. Yeah, that's the word they always tend to use. Or they use a picture. So I saw this, I can't exactly remember who it was, but this guy was actually killed by the police. And the picture they used, he was holding actually a picture of his daughter, and they cropped the top bit, and it was just his head, and they made it look like a mugshot.
No, I know the one you're talking about.
And I'm thinking it's like, so they've painted this picture now, and this is gonna resonate with a lot of people, and they're gonna have this idea in their head. And that's why when you walk down the road, they would like grow on the other side. It's so funny. They do like they go like this. They walk up to you, then they go like this, then they go and they cross around. You're like, bruh,
what are you doing?
Literally. But I mean, that is one of the massive kind of systemic issues which we are facing in society. And I guess for us to dilute that situation, we do have to speak about this with as many people and actually say that, one, we're not aggressive, we're not all these pictures which they've painted in their minds, these narratives, these things that they've created in the news and history. But now I guess we're moving on to the third and current part of your life, which is your work life, right?
My work life, yeah.
Your career.
Corporate environment,
environment. How does that work? Like what is it?
I mean, that one is like almost impossible to actually prove. That's probably the hardest form of racism to prove is in the corporate environment, because everyone realizes that if someone can prove you've been racist, you're pretty much done in the corporate world. So the way you do it is in ways that can't be seen. You basically create an invisible ceiling.
Okay.
Basically, everyone can see up, but you know that they can't get past a particular place. Do you get what I mean? But
Yeah.
we're all looking up. We can all see who's at the top, and it give us that illusion of you can get there. But most of the time, they put things in our way, whether you're black, whether you're a woman, but things that just stifle you from getting to the top, essentially. And
that's why it's all pale male stale at the top.
exactly. That's why it just kind of like the shades just becomes less diverse. The further up you go.
The funnel is like,
And I guess one example I can use in the corporate environment was this place called FDM where I was working. Not the best place to work. I don't advise anyone to work there. But basically what they do is that they train you and then they place you with one of their clients, and they have some of the best clients in the world.
Okay.
So I was in a driven program, meaning that 11 of us were meant to go to a particular destination.
Okay.
And to this client of theirs. And there were 12 of us in our class.
Okay.
So you think, oh, okay, my odds are really good here, right? And then you get to the part where you do your exams. You do exams on a weekly basis. You have to pass exams. They know your scores. I'm doing well. I'm one of the top people in the class. I'm doing very well. And then you get to the point where the client comes in and they interview everyone. And then after that, like a week or two later, they tell you the people that got it. They come back and they tell us that they've taken 7 people.
So out of 12 people, 7 people.
They've taken 7 people. Then they come back a day later and said they've taken 2 more. So
2 more.
there are only 3 of us left in our class now.
Wait, 7 minus 5. Wait, how many did they take?
They took 9.
9, yeah.
Sorry, they took 8. They took 8. And there were 3 of us left in our class because one person dropped out. We were 12 initially. One person dropped out. So you think all 11 of us would be taken.
Oh, I get you now.
So there were only 3 left in our class because they didn't take 11 of the people. They instead took 8.
Oh, okay.
And the 3 people, I kid you not, were the only 3 black people in the class. Everyone else was either white or Asian, like Chinese, or from Sri Lanka or somewhere else. But the 3 people that weren't taken were the 3 black guys.
Yeah.
And you can't prove that is the reason why we weren't picked is because we're black.
It's very convenient.
You really can't use that. You can't say that. You can't prove that, most importantly, because it's all about we live in a world of what can you prove. You can't prove that. But one could argue, were your interview skills up to par? I'll be like, fair enough if you want to say me, but you think the 3 of us, like, our interview skills weren't up to par? Like, I know who was in my class. You can't tell me this person had that interview skills, but you can't go around saying that because you just look salty. You look like you can't take a rejection, essentially.
Yeah.
So you just kind of keep on with the situation, and somehow, somewhere, I found my way out of that company. Thank God for that. But that was a situation I was put in that I don't know whether that's the closest I can say I've come to racism in the corporate environment, because it's not something you can definitively prove. It's just something that you know it exists because you see the statistics, you know it happens to other people, but when it happens to you, you don't know if you're one of them or this is a coincidence that the last 3 people that weren't picked were black. You don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's where we have the issue of not having kind of many CEOs or chairmen and things like that who are black. I think in FTSE 100 there's just one.
Exactly. It's a system.
Yeah, which is kind of scary. Because again, I keep talking about this trickle down effect. If we do have just one person in FTSE 100 who is, I think, either CEO or chairman who's black, that's not really going to trickle down because, one, you don't have anybody to look up to. So that glass ceiling you're looking at, it's like you're looking at the glass ceiling, you're looking, and you still can't find anybody that looks like you. So it then becomes very difficult to try and progress your career as a whole. But one thing I want to talk to you about is definitely kind of any situations which you've kind of felt that. So one thing I kind of want to talk to you about is that if you've ever been in a situation which has been kind of pretty offensive to you, which I guess maybe a white person may not have kind of experienced in their life growing up? Or do you have any kind of...
I mean, one thing white people never have to worry about is someone using the N word around you.
Okay.
And it's the worst part about it is you know the history about it as a black person, because most black people, when we start saying the word at an early age, we actually know what the history behind the word is. And whereas your white friends, most of the time, because they don't know, they haven't done their research, or no one has told them about it, where they first encountered the word is music.
Yeah.
So you're listening to music, you're having a good time, you hear this word, you're saying the word, and they say it, or they say, I can say it. I think what I went through was a friend of mine came to me and told me he can say it. He actually told me.
He said,
he's a
I
white,
can say
he's a
it.
white guy. He's like, I can say it. I was like, though I know you can say it, but why would you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you're if you say that, you're clearly trying to like get under my skin. You're trying to piss me off. It's like, no, you're just like, I can say it. Like, he was just so adamant about why he could say it. I was just like...
But did he give you a reason as to why he thought he could say it? It was just
he said he said it's in the song. I said, have you done your research on what that word is? And he was like, but everyone uses it. Everyone says it in the song. And then he goes ahead to say it. And we are in our house at this time. This is in school. We are in our house and we are around like a bunch of other friends, but most of these guys are white. And they're all laughing and they're all doing the whole shocked face, like, oh, I can't believe he said it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they're all laughing at the same time. And then here's me, it's like, I know what you're expecting now. You're expecting me to get up right now and punch you in the face or chase you around this house, giving you this whole, like, I don't know, performance,
yeah.
where I'm meant to, like, basically you're meant to play me like I'm Pinocchio or something, and you're Geppetto.
Yeah.
And like that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna like basically break my stride or break my confidence, or it's not going to change anything in me. It's not going to make me want to fight you.
Yeah.
Because that's not how I'm built. I don't give power to things. But then again, I know the type of person you are with what you said.
Yeah.
You've basically told me you don't care about certain things that could affect essentially other human beings' life that don't affect yours. You're not really, you don't show that form of empathy. And the reason why, growing up knowing that they don't show that form of empathy, is because they're not educated on the situation. If he knew what that word meant, he won't have said it. He won't want to say it, to be honest.
No, right.
Do you get what I mean? Because we've transformed that word into a word of camaraderie. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Even like that is what we have done as a people because of what that word represented, how it was meant to put us down. We basically try to take the power away from that and use it in a positive way amongst each other. That's what we did.
Yeah.
They don't know that. They think we're just saying it in songs. And it's the lack of empathy and which comes from a lack of education that is the problem in that situation. Obviously, going back to that wolf pack mentality, you're gonna do, if other people are reacting in that situation that way, where they're not calling you out, they're just doing the obviously you're not gonna feel like you did anything wrong. So a big reason is that whole wolf pack mentality. People need to be able to think for themselves. A lot of people like other people think for them, or like for being followers, but like we need to, I think as young people, especially young people, we need to do a better job at thinking for ourselves and educating ourselves.
Well, I mean, it's really good that you said that, because yesterday actually, so I think I posted a video on my Instagram of like there was a guy in a convenience store and the staff, the lady, I think it was definitely a black lady, and she was like filming him, and he wasn't wearing a mask. He wasn't wearing a mask, and she obviously, in America, you have to enforce them wearing a mask coming to the store, blah blah blah. And she was like, "Oh, sir, you have to wear a mask, or you can't shop here. We're gonna have to take your items, blah blah." And then he was like, "You're disturbing me." And then he was like, "That's why you're a N-word." And I was like, that actually hurt me, like hearing him say that. And I was like, if you're a white person, why in God's name do you want to say that? I don't say that word myself. Like, I hate that word. Like, you can't catch me saying that word because of all the connotations linked with it. And I guess I do understand why people say, we're trying to reclaim the word. It's because of camaraderie. And actually, a guy messaged me on Instagram after he saw that video and he was like, I'm not trying to be rude or derogatory or anything. It was a white guy. I was like, just for my own understanding, like, why is it that then a lot of black people use it in the community and they use it in songs? And I explained to him, I was like, this is why they use it. So you shouldn't want to use it. I thought he was going to reply to that. But he never did. So I was like, is this guy just trying to find out kind of like if he can keep saying the word secretly or like, what is it? But yeah, for me, you wouldn't catch me using that word. I do see why black people might use it, but in no correct situation is it okay for a white person to use that word.
Exactly.
Not in a song, not to call your friend who's black, never.
Like,
that definitely never. So there's not really any situation for that to be used because you should know the connotations which are linked to it. You should know the pain the black people have faced having to listen to like their ancestors actually being called those words negatively, being beaten to those words. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think like you should ever want to use that word, and that's kind of a word to the wise who's watching.
Exactly.
And I think one thing I do want to talk to you about, which I think I find it quite funny, this topic, because I hate this. Well, I don't hate this topic, but I hate when I see it happening. But then people give me this counter argument of like, oh, but why is this? So the African accent, right? So the generic African accent.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Because people then say I don't like it as a whole because I find it so uncomfortable because I know the links to actually having this done to you. It's like the African accent, right?
Yeah. The African accent. What can I say? The African accent is just like, it's something that all of a sudden has become the cool thing to do, but there's nothing cool about it because the people that you are imitating are very offended by the imitation, essentially. But I'm a bit real with accents in general.
Yeah.
If you're not good at an accent, you should not do the accent. That is the truth. Because the thing is that with accents, like I said, if you're a comedian, like a Jay Farrow or something, and you're voicing Will Smith, you're voicing this character, and you're genuinely putting your effort into it, and we can see how good you are at it. Do you get what I mean? That's the character you're embodying because you're doing it for comedy purposes, but not in comedy to make fun of the person.
Yeah.
But do you get what I mean? I guess it's a talent, it's a skill.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But when you're basically doing it to mock the person, essentially, I don't care what accent it is, whether it's Scottish, African, or anything, you really shouldn't do that because why would you fake someone else's accent? Because people's accents is part of their culture. You start taking the piss out of someone's accent, you're essentially taking the piss out of a person's culture. That's how it feels to us. It's something very personal to people. So my biggest advice would be to you, if you're not good at it, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Just stay away from it because there's absolutely no need, because a lot of people will be offended. And if people don't like it, they will let you know. That's just the type of world we live in. With Twitter, with anything, if they find out that you're doing these things, people will let you know that they don't like it, and you won't feel good for it.
Yeah.
So my advice to you is just stay away from that, or practice a lot. Practice a lot. Get some
in the comfort of your own room by yourself until you nail it.
Get some people who are not get some people who are Nigerian or who are from African heritage to listen to you to see whether they should give you the green light or to go ahead. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, because that's pretty funny because the African accent that they do is like, I can't even pinpoint it because it's like, one, Nigerian people sound different to Ghanaian people.
Like they're
Ghanaian people
different
sound
dialects
different to
across
Kenyan people.
the whole, like, do you get me?
There's like
I said
500,
continents.
520 different dialects
Like,
in
do you get
Nigeria
what I mean?
alone. So
That's
it's
just
like,
one country.
Exactly.
And we're talking about a whole continent. So like,
Yeah.
when you because we know that generic accent.
Yeah.
We know it.
I guess it's when people
get
get offended by when they, like, American people are like, oh, should we get some teas and crumpets?
Yeah, exactly.
It falls in line with that.
It falls in line with that, because you're actually trying to take the piss.
Yeah.
If you're trying to take the piss, the people you're trying to take the piss out of have every right to be offended by that.
Of course, yeah. I know. I totally. I for this part, I am so strong on this point because when I was younger, I like this. Coming to look at it, this guy was such the worst. It was the worst. And I remember he, again, in training, he would do like an African accent and I'd be like, this guy just needs to shut up. But again, you can't do it. And then maybe it's just PTSD from that situation, but that accent, I was trying to nip it in the bud.
I had a housemaster who did it. Like, every morning he'll come to me and be like, how far? How far? And I'll just be like, this is my housemaster, by the way. I know it's not coming from like a malicious place because he was actually quite a good guy.
Yeah. That guy was not.
It's just something I could have done without. Like, I didn't need you to try that. Do you get what I mean? Like, even if you wanted to say like what we say in your accent, I'll be okay with that. But when you start trying to fake that accent and try to, like, it just becomes a tad bit like silly. Yeah. It's just really silly, really, when it comes down to it.
Hey, I totally agree with you. And I think on that note, I think we could actually end this, to be honest, because I think we've touched up, unless there's something else you want to kind of add that you feel super strong about.
Just one thing. People. Educate yourselves. Read books, watch movies, talk about it with your black friends. And yes, you should have black friends. But basically, educate yourself. Like, there's something everywhere for everyone that is so accessible. We live in a time of everything's accessible. Everything's on Netflix or something. Do you know what I mean? Or Google. Yeah. If you have questions, Google it. Like, do you know what I mean? Just be more inquisitive before you do things. Yeah. Question yourself. Question, I guess, things that you allow to happen around you. Like, question how silent you've been in some certain situations. Do you get what I mean? Just check yourself and make sure you're doing everything to be part of the solution. Nice. Yeah, and I agree with that. A lot of self-reflection is good. It's really important. So I 1% agree, 100%, not 1%. 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. Again, Chike, thank you so much for joining me. It's such a serious conversation, but you find a way to make it lighthearted, but get your message across. And I think that's also very important. And I know it's a very, very serious situation, serious conversation, but this is a way that people will understand it from a humor point of view as well. And I think that's extremely important. So genuinely, thank you so much for your time. It's been educational. It's been funny. It's been scary. It has been. But overall, it's actually been great. So thank you guys again for tuning in to this lovely episode. We'll catch you again soon. Please make sure you keep tuning in. Thank you so much.